Question 2c from the 2018 National 5 Physics paper is actually very tricky. The idea here is a trolley rolls down a ramp, and as it does so, it speeds up. As you can see here, this line here shows the speed or the velocity of the trolley increasing with time up until the point where it hits the elastic. And the question says this: using the axes provided, complete the velocity time graph for the motion of the trolley from the moment it contacts the elastic until it reaches the maximum height back up the ramp. The key thing here is that this is a velocity time graph, and what that means is we need to think about not only the speed that it's moving at, the magnitude of the velocity, but the direction as well, and the fact that it's changing direction. And when it changes direction, that means that there is a change of sign on the graph. So we have a positive velocity here, but if we have a negative velocity, that means that the trolley is moving in the opposite direction. So any time where the trolley is moving down the slope, that would be positive, but if it's moving back up the slope, that would be a negative velocity. And so that's what we have to try and represent on the graph. So let's think about it. So at the point where the trolley hits the elastic, it's going to rapidly decelerate. So all we need to draw here is a line which is pretty much instantaneously, not quite instantaneously, pretty much instantaneously dropping back down to zero as the trolley stops. But then the trolley changes direction, so it has to quickly accelerate in the opposite direction. And so this line continues for a little while downward because the trolley is now moving in the opposite direction. It's moving up the slope a little bit in that direction. But then it leaves the elastic, and at the point where it leaves the elastic, it stops accelerating on its way up, and it starts to slow down again. And so what we need to do now is to redraw this line slowing down. So the velocity is decreasing all the way up to zero. Now at that point we can stop, and there's a couple of things we can observe. The first thing is that the trolley is travelling up the slope, and so therefore we have a decreasing speed, but it's in the negative direction because it's moving back up the slope again. The second thing is that this gradient should be roughly the same as this one here, and that's because the only force acting on the trolley is the weight of the trolley, the gravity acting down the slope, and so its rate of deceleration should be the same as its rate of acceleration as it rolled down the slope. And then the final thing is it should come to a stop. The graph should come to a stop here because we're meant to be drawing the velocity of the trolley until it reaches its maximum height. And when it reaches its maximum height, that means the velocity of the trolley is zero. So that's how we draw that graph.